Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We have an update with Banyan Gold, who just put out a great resource update on their AURMAC project. So just under 4 million ounces, up from just under 1 million ounces. That's a really good update. Looking forward to digging into that. As always, this presentation will contain forward-looking statements. If you'd like to know more about those, you can find them on the company's presentation on their website. We will have a Q&A section, so feel free to input questions in the Q&A box. With that formality out of the way, I'd like to introduce Tara Christie, CEO of Banyan.
Hi, great to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you again, too. And what an exciting update. I think that really surprised the market to the upside. So looking forward to hearing about that. And maybe you could start with a little bit of an overview of the resource update. I think everyone on this call is familiar with Banyan. If they wanted a deeper dive, I would say maybe check out some of the previous webinars or reach out, and I'm happy to set up a deep dive call. But yeah, maybe just get right into the resource.
Great. Thanks. Well, this is what we're talking about. Our AURMAC property right here in Mayo, Yukon. Nice rolling terrain, very amenable to being a potential heap leach mining project. Here's that resource contained within 3 deposits, 2.9 million at our power line. That's where the bulk of the resource was, that in our updated resource, along with a new resource at Oryx Hill and a slightly expanded resource at Airstrip. But remember, 40,000 meters of drilling. We've now added 3.1 million ounces for $15 million in expenditure. So that's $5 per ounce roughly. So we're pretty lean and mean. Our original resource was $2 per ounce, but we're now continuing this year. And for those that love the math, we're planning 30,000 meters, 30 to 35 here. And so when you think about that, you said, wow, they added 3.1 million with 40,000 meters. What are they going to add this year? So keep that in mind as I go through the presentation. Most of you know the story, and know that what you need in the Yukon and what majors are looking for to be at tier 1 is 5 million ounces. That's what the classification these days is. When I was talking to the old timers early last week, they said, oh, it used to be 1 million and then it was 3 million and now it's 5 million. So that's certainly one of our major goals for 2022 is to demonstrate that. And I think we'll do that in spades. So not going to talk about our team. Great shareholders, they've really got us to where we are. Victoria Gold, Franklin, institutionals, shareholders. Nice to have coverage. A month and a half ago, we got coverage from Cormark as well as coverage from Sprott, who updated their price yesterday. So jumping right into the resource, this is what it looks like in a plan map, and I'm going to show you the 3D model in just a minute. Now, just for those that aren't familiar with the colors on this map, the orange is the projection of the pit onto the surface. So that's the area that would be excavated. All of the black dots are drill holes that are in the resource. Any other color, red or green, they're not included in the resource update. The red we've drilled in 2022, and we're still we have assays back, but they weren't in time for the resource cutoff, or we're pending assays. And then the green is our current drill program, which of course changes slightly in the field, but you can just see how aggressive we plan to step out to the east and the west. Over here to the west, you can see we started again at our 100-meter space drill hole grids, and then took a few big step outs at 300 meters, really testing that mineralization. And you can see this year in our plan that we are planning to really follow up on that high-grade area that we're seeing the east-west through power line and connect power line and Oryx Hill. We used a 0.2 cutoff, to show that this is a bulk tonnage heap leach mineable project. And really, while we put this resource out, we know it is a stepping stone to the next resource. We really just wanted to demonstrate the value that we'd created. We used a $1,500 gold price, or $1,700 gold price. We previously used a $1,500 gold price. Here's just a resource sensitivity showing, if you increase the cutoff grade by 50% to 0.3, you get less than 10% decrease in total ounces, but the grade goes up to 0.7 on the power line side and almost 0.79 on the airstrip side. So, lots of opportunity as we continue to expand this to both grade at ounces and grade, and the deposit really hangs together. At 0.5 cutoff, you have almost a gram. So, but we think it's too early days. And really, the story here is a big bulk tonnage heap leach mineable project. So now I'm going to attempt to log in or to show you my screen with the property and the 3D model. All right, so here we go. Resource estimate. Here's the property. going to zoom back out, get the right one here. Hopefully you can see that. We're going to zoom in on the resource underneath. You can see just how large that 3D model is, showing the airstrip there on the left and the power line. We're rotating towards the power line, and the green is Oryx Hill. So, you can see we're drilling way out to the, I'm going to try and get to see if this works. All right. Here's just, all the drill holes that went into it. 3D models don't always work out fabulously. There we go. So yeah, Oryx Hill power line. And so these are the pit outlines. You can see just the huge different distance between power line and Oryx Hill, which we're going to close with the drilling that we do this year. There again, just that 3D model. So this is on our website. It's probably easier for people to pull it up themselves and play around with it rather than trying to do it on the webinar. But here you can see those holes, which I just showed you in plan map, which we've drilled out to the west and connecting power line and Oryx Hill. So pretty exciting year planned for us with our drill program. We're already 17,000 meters into that drill program and really excited about what we're seeing. This sharing screens not quite cooperating. All right, back to the sensitivity and back to the regular old presentation. This is what the power line resource model looks like. Power line is where we get these layers of sheeted veins. They're dipping at about 15 degrees, so they're almost horizontal. And we have between 4 and 9 of them in different areas of the deposit. Here, this is just one section through it, and fairly soon we'll be posting many of the sections, so everybody can take a look and see how the deposit hangs together. So 3 drills turning, 17,000 meters. We're funded to keep on drilling right through September, focusing on resource expansion, higher grade areas, and doing work to support our PA that we plan to do in 2023. Really, you can pretty significantly affect the economics if you strategically drill and you understand the difference between a pit constrained resource of an inferred resource like this and what might actually be a mining pit. So we're starting to think about that work. And really, we think this is a tier 1 asset, and we plan to make that goal in spades by the fall. And we don't take setting goals lightly. So we're super excited about this higher grade core. And many of you have seen this slide before, where we've got 1.53, 1.1, 1.43 right from surface. A couple of weeks ago, we released that hole with 3 grams with over 21 meters right from surface. We're starting to see and understand the higher grade, and you'll see some of that in the program that we've planned this year. So as we move to the east, we're moving up in that big area where we do have a soil anomaly. Remember, power line was blind. There's no soil anomaly there, but we've got 10 square kilometers of area up there where we have known RAB drill results, which are right on surface, know they're mineralized, along with this soil anomaly and the original resource that the maiden resource on Oryx Hill that we just put out. And as all this drilling has given us a tremendous amount of knowledge about the area. We're starting to compile that, put together the geophysics, the geochemistry, along with what we know about the structure from previous LiDAR analysis that we've done. And here I'm just showing you the resistivity, geophysics, and we can now see and we can correlate the mineralization at Powerline and Oryx Hill with this resistive unit, which is pink, which you see over about 16.5 kilometers right across our property. And you can see to the east where we're drilling, anomaly stays strong and actually continues for quite a way. Same with also to the west or to the east. Here's just the comparison, the size of the soil anomaly. So lots of area for us to explore. And really, we think this property has regional potential. All of these deposits are intrusion related. We're starting to put together our geological model, and I'm not going to belabor that in this conversation by Zoom, but we're starting to understand it and put it together and understand where the higher grade portions are. So we're going to test that regional potential because we're going to spend 80% of our drill program doing what has served us so well, focusing on expanding the inferred resource with very safe step outs. But then we're going to spend about 20% of our exploration budget this year drilling some pretty big step outs. And just to show you where they are, we've already drilled step outs to the south along this highway, which goes to Mayo. So we've drilled here and here and here. You can't see the red very well on this particular image. And then holes which we still plan to drill. And we do continue to do work to ground truthers. So some of these might change a little bit, but we have holes over here to the eastern end, which we think follow in this trend, which is more similar to airstrip mineralization. And then we plan to step out, 4, 6, 8 kilometers to the east and drill some holes as well. Part of our program is going to also look for areas to put infrastructure that aren't mineralized, but if any of these holes hit over a very large extent, it'll be really important for us. Just with what we're drilling close to power line, we're going to expand the resource very significantly. Power line itself is about 1.2 kilometers in strike, but we've already drilled 1.2 kilometers to the west, 600 meters to the east, and we plan to drill almost 2 kilometers. So that's a very large expansion if the mineralization continues over that width.
Tara, are you planning some infill as well?
Not at this time. We did do some of that infill at power line. We drilled at 25 meter spacings in this one area right here. And that really gave us an understanding of the variography and continuity, and our QP confident in the spacing that'll take to get to measured and indicated. We know that there'll probably be about 30 meters that we have to infill to get it to the next level of confidence. But really, we want to find some of these higher grade areas that we think exist here. So once we start to get back some of these results, we'll make that call. I think you want to be over 5 million ounces before you start to worry about moving things up to measured and indicated. But at the present time, we're still planning on staying with our 100 meter spacing, which gets us these inferred ounces.
Okay, thanks.
That might change. We'll see what the market says as we start to get some of these results back. And, we really want to optimize the economics for our PEA in 2023. And that was also pretty exciting news for us. I'll just flip ahead to the option agreement. In the last couple of weeks, the original option, this portion of the property to the north was optioned to us by Alexco. The middle portion was optioned to us by Victoria Gold. And then the southern whole portion, we own 100% because we staked it. In the last few weeks, Victoria Gold purchased the underlying royalty, and effectively we now have to pay them what we would have paid Alexco to earn up to 100% in it, which is, for us now there's one single royalty holder under both sides of the property, and that makes it a little bit simpler moving forward for everybody. So for us, that's good news, and the big part of that was we were able to drop the PFS and move the PEA date requirement out to 2025. We still think 2023 is going to be the right year to do it, and we're driving towards that, but the pressure's off if something happens in the world. We've moved this project forward exceptionally quickly. Remember, we optioned it in 2017, had very small drill programs until 2019 when we drilled 4,500 meters. In 2020 we drilled 10,000 meters and then put out that resource at $2 per ounce. And now here we are with a 4 million ounce, having cost us $5 an ounce for that increase, planning another update next year along with the PEA, planning to get it to that tier 1 category. So pretty exciting. We're also planning a pretty robust year of metallurgy that's ongoing right now. We had those initial results from our bottle rolls. We've got columns going on right now. We're looking at the mineralogy, doing some grain size analysis, and really trying to understand that in preparation for the PEA. So, overall, I think it's a super exciting year for us. We've got a great year a great team in the field. The productivity of drilling this spring has exceeded my expectations, as well as they've kept our costs right in line. So, we're going to have year-round news flow. We're going to have more results from our 2022 program coming very quickly. We've already put out the first set, but we started in January and we're getting less than 2-month turnaround. So should be a pretty exciting year for news flow and really advancing towards that PEA next year. So maybe I'll let you ask questions, Deborah, and people who want a longer presentation or more details are welcome to reach out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have a couple questions. So going back to your option and earn-in agreement, can you remind us what's left on that agreement? What
Sure.
commitments are still remaining?
Yeah, I'll go back to that slide. So we have completed all of the exploration expenditures on both sides of the property. And if you combine the two agreements, we have to do a PEA by 2025 is the only thing that's going to cost us some money. And then we have to, in terms of expenditures. And then we have to pay $2 million in cash or shares on both sides of the property at our election, on one side by 2025 and the other by 2027. So lots of time. And then there's an additional $600,000 payment in 2023 in cash or shares on the McQuestion side of the property. So, that's all within range for us. And really time works for us to wait to earn that in. There's no back-end rights on it. It is purely at our election to earn that 100%. Then you can see we do grant an NSR, which looks big until you see that it can be bought down to 1% for $7 million. And if you look at the complete terms of our earn-in agreements, there were the earn-in payment, cash payments at the front end and share payments were pretty light. And so the concept was that they would get paid back for their cost and exploration and holding cost at the back end through being able to buy down the NSR.
Okay. And you mentioned in this presentation the NITRA project, which I don't believe I've ever heard you mention previously. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that one.
That's there it is right here. So
tried to sneak that one in, Tara.
Property, which is 173 square kilometers. But we have this NITRA property, and you can see there's roughly 5 kilometers in between, where it brings our whole property package in this area up to 300 square kilometers. We're pretty excited about it because we know there's historic placer mining in this area in particular, and we staked this part of the property first, and then we added on this last year. We did some soils in this property. We know the placer miners that worked in this area, and we think the geochemical signature that we're getting from those soils looks very, very similar to what we're seeing at Powerline. So it's also road accessible. Victoria Gold would be just to the north a little ways. So it's the same district, likely the same age and potential for mineralization. So it's early days on that, but that's a really fun stage of exploration as well. And we own it 100% with no royalties and no buy-in.
That's great. And you mentioned road access. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your access to infrastructure for the whole project, because I think that's key.
Sure. It's let me find that slide.
I'm making you jump around.
It's okay. That's good. This main highway goes right through the property, and then this is a year-round. It's a government road. This is a South McQuestion road which Victoria Gold uses as an access road, but it's year-round maintained, which is pretty important, and that's what helps us. I have to give credit to the Yukon government and them helping us with maintaining these roads, to keeping our costs and our ability to explore year-round. We started in January, and it was great to just be able to drive down the highway and get into our camp. Yukon government's actually committed $63 million to continuing to upgrade this road. That work's supposed to start this year. We expect it'll be a multi-year work on this road. And because this road also services communities as well as Alexco and Victoria, it certainly has been a focus for them. This is a brand new power line. It was just energized in January of 2021. It's only energized to half its capacity right now, even though it serves some communities as well as Victoria Gold and Alexco. So it does have capacity to be energized to a higher level should this project move forward, which is pretty exciting. This is Victoria Gold's substation right here, or the substation that goes to Victoria Gold, and their power line goes through this image here. So, it's a great location for infrastructure. We even have 4 bars on the cell phone here. There's fiber optic cable along this power line out to Victoria Gold. And actually, that's the other really exciting news in the Yukon in the last couple of weeks, was that the Northwest Tel and the First Nation Development Corps, actually 11 of them have signed a partnership to improve the telecommunications and specifically fiber optics in the Yukon. And that's going to benefit us as well, because we're going to see some of those improvements go right past us along this highway. So lots of good news coming out of the Yukon. It also shows you that there's real partnerships with First Nation Development Corps in the Yukon. And you can see the work that Victoria Gold and Alexco's done with the Nochonak Dun First Nation. It's also really leading the way for partnerships between companies and First Nations.
Great. Well, it sounds like you have better connectivity than I did in my condo in Toronto.
Sometimes that's bad. You don't get any peace even at the drill.
What I wanted to ask, so infrastructure is obviously key to your low exploration costs. I mean, $2 an ounce is unbelievable. $5 an ounce still sounds really, really cheap. I'm not sure what the average in Yukon would be. Maybe you can give us some context for that and explain, other than infrastructure, what are the other reasons that the drill costs are so low?
So, I haven't really been studying other people's costs, but I know as soon as you have a helicopter or have to fly things into a remote strip, your costs go up pretty exponentially. So, I think we're under 250, probably about $240 per meter. Well, many are far greater than that, 350, 400. And once you get helicopters, you're probably in 600, or, some people's might even be as high as $1,000 a meter if you're in a really remote location. So it's quite variable. So I don't think there's a specific rule of thumb. But the other thing that we really do different, and I spent 20 years running a placer mining operation, private money. And, that really taught me to think ahead and plan and get your equipment in and what are our biggest problems going to be. And so, long before this year's big winter drill program, we were planning for what we were going to need for it. So it wasn't last minute. And that was the nice thing about being financed last year. It was that we had a lot of lead time to get organized. We bought our water trucks. We got them set up so that, the water wouldn't freeze. We built pump shacks so people didn't have to haul pumps off the back of the truck, and, things that both were safety issues as well as operational. You save an awful lot of time when you got a heated pump shack you're getting your water from, and you don't have to, waste a huge amount of time on that. Your trucks are properly set up. We have all-terrain vehicles to get out to our drill sites and spares. The things that take a little bit of lead time. And right now, even finding a spare pickup truck to take out to the field, I think is going to be a challenge for exploration companies. And, while we might not have bought enough, we have a fleet of trucks of our own. And thank goodness we purchased them, because right now finding an F350 or some of those things that people are going to need in the field are going to be a real challenge.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's
a used truck now costs more what a new one did last year, and it's almost worn out. So definitely going to be challenged. We're seeing inflation, and so doing that preparation work really has served us well.
Yeah, I think that's every industry is seeing that right now across the board. Has all the drilling so far been diamond drilling, or is it a split between RAB and core?
We really like diamond drilling, as we're trying to add ounces that will be addable to a resource. And the other real challenge between RC drilling is the extra people. And again, in this market, finding labor or filling labor jobs is really challenging. So, and even you need extra accommodation for that as well. The real benefit of what we're getting in the with the diamond drilling too is we're getting the geology, we're getting oriented core, and that's helping us to put together the structural story here, and is going to be part of the story of where we target is all that information. And you don't get that with RC, you get chips, and it might be a little bit faster. I'm not sure with the increase in cost of labor that it would actually be significantly cheaper for us. So, our drill contractor really has been going the extra mile to deliver efficient drilling. And that was really evident this spring.
Yeah, for sure. You've talked a lot about your preparation for drilling, your preparation for the season, et cetera. Can you tell us a little bit about your drill target generation process and how you prepare targets for like maximum value add drilling?
Sure. Well, it's in some of the holes around power line, we were just taking those 100-meter step spacing, and you can see this mineralization in the core. So, these sheeted veins, you can't see grade, but you can say, this is looking a little bit weaker, or it's looking a little bit lit, it's looking pretty strong. I think we want to continue to go in this direction or that direction. Some of these further afield drill targets are based on both the LIDAR analysis, the geophysics, combined with geochemistry, sometimes some historic or trench results that we have. So we spend a bunch of time on that, and then we always adapt our drill program in the field. I'm a big believer that you don't go out in a drill season with a plan that's static. Every time you look at the core. So we make sure that even if we don't have time to fully log a core, a geologist has looked at it before the next hole gets drilled. I think that's a key thing. And it's about having enough people to, there's lots of drill programs where often you don't have enough people and you don't have the luxury. They're moving the drill core. They don't have time. That's really important. And it's been part of our success is, make the time, make sure that we're following up on every hole.
No, I think it's a really thorough process you run just with everything you do. It's been impressive to watch. You already talked a bit about, what type of mining scenario you're looking at being a heap leach. Can you talk a little bit about what processing scenarios you're looking at for the PEA, or is it too soon to be considering that?
Right now we're taking the approach that of a standalone project in our PEA. And people ask us all the time, what are the synergies with Victoria Gold? Could you ship the carbon? What are the other engineering solutions? But, I think the most value and whether there are some synergies or whether they or somebody else is looking at us is kind of irrelevant for us showing the robust economics of this project. So that's our current plan. Now that we actually have the resource out, we're going to take that to our engineering team and say, what do you guys see? And we still have time, which is a great benefit. And that's another adaptation to our exploration drill program, because our current program has that exploration geologist. How do we get the most ounces? How do we test some of these high value targets? We're going to mix in some of that engineering. This is an actual mining pit. We need to drill here, even if you think it's a little bit lower grade, because it's going to be in the pit and it'll either be waste. Otherwise, it'll be waste. It'll let us do some of that infill and thinking ahead. Before that, we also are going to do some, geotechnical drilling or logging so that we understand what the pit slopes might be. Because that's another opportunity in the economics is to see how steep you can get your pits in various areas, which lets you optimize grade and reduce waste. So that's the next phase, and that'll be fun. And I really enjoy that part of it. Okay, and again, it's planning ahead. We're doing that well in advance of saying, here, give us a PEA. We're saying, hey, we're going to do a PEA next year. What do we need to do this year to make that the best that it can be? The metallurgical program that we're doing, we've been doing it very sequentially, because that's a really big, important part of the processing is understanding, what's being, where the mineralization is hosted. Are there other minerals that are at play? So doing some of that right up front before we get a whole bunch of column leach tests, because that's often the approach. You just say, okay, I'm going to do column leach tests at these crush sizes, and well, what's our rationale for why we're doing that? So it might take us a little bit longer, but we're trying to make sure that we're designing the best project, or the PA will have the best project that we can for the level of resource and information that we have.
Yeah, doing all the work, in advance, and maybe it takes a little bit longer, more detail, but you get it right, or closer to right, hopefully.
Hopefully. And everybody's so busy too that if you aren't doing things well in advance, you're going to miss out on some of those opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, it sounds like you have an advantage just by having a longer drill season than some of your regional players or competitors, if you will. Although I don't think you really view them that way. You seem to have a really good network up in the Yukon of collaborators. And yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the Yukon, what the mine permitting process is like, what, the mining sentiment is like up there. And you mentioned First Nations relations. Maybe you can expand upon all that.
Sure. So, Yukon's had two mines permitted most recently, being the ones right beside us, Alexco and Victoria Gold. Alexco is a different, it's underground, high-grade silver, had legacy environmental issues. That was all part of it and was part of their story. So it's not really a direct comparable. The better comparable is Victoria Gold, because it's the same age of mineralization, the same kind of open pit heap leach mining project that we think our project is. So their process, it took them 5 years to go through the process. They were really the first heap leach mine to go through the process. And partway through, they realized that their project design had to change. And so they updated their feasibility study, which did cost a bit of time. But the nice thing is they did leave a template for what's needed, what information is needed for this type of project. The other really important thing for us is both Alexco and Victoria Gold have shared all of their regional wildlife, water, and other data, and some of it shares our drainages. So that's hugely valuable. We are planning ahead on our permitting in that you need 3 years of environmental baseline. We've already done 2 years. This will be our third year of baseline data collection. And so in theory, you could start permitting as early as sometime in 2023. We're not currently starting to think about that, but we're starting to also get prepared to make sure we haven't missed anything. In terms of, the First Nations in the Yukon, we're very fortunate that we have 11 settled First Nations, self-governments. Many of them have their own engagement processes with how companies They want companies to work with them. And in this specific area, we only have one First Nation, the Nyack Dun First Nation, and they have quite a bit of experience working with both Victoria Gold and Alexco. So, that's really positive for having high-level conversations right off the bat and being able for them to understand and have the capacity to talk to mining companies. So Yukon generally has a really supportive government. You've seen lots of infrastructure announcements through the pandemic and from the government, the road announcement, the power line. It was not just an announcement, it was actually built and energized in January of 2021. So, through the pandemic, the power line was being constructed. So we're seeing lots of positive momentum, and there's all kinds of different projects and different First Nations. So some have had some challenges in permitting. Sometimes it's related to the community and communications or the company. I think that we've got a pretty clear vision on permitting, and Yukon overall is a good jurisdiction to work. Having 3 operating mines in the Yukon is a positive thing, and they're all relatively modern.
And I'm sure some of your social, community, and ESG efforts are helping along the way with your reputation and advancement with policy. Maybe you could talk about those a little bit.
Yeah, that's something I've been passionate about for a long time. Been working in the Yukon for most of my career, and 10 years ago started our Every Student Every Day charity. It's along with Victoria Gold. They were the real designers of it, and I jumped in to help lead it. We're really pleased. We funded project in every single community across the Yukon over our 10 years, given out over $1.5 million. We're just responding this year with an increase to $300,000 this year, really focused on the impacts of COVID, working with communities on some of the attendance issues. So pretty pleased with that. And it also helps you build connections on a real personal level with people in communities, and not just the one that we're working on in Mayo, but also Whitehorse and all across the territory. So yeah, that's a really key part for any exploration company, is to have those connections with the community and honest communication.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important, and you do it so well. It's such a great charity that you support. I guess my other questions are more about the corporate strategy. So you haven't spoken much about Highland recently. What are your plans there? Do you plan to keep it, sell it, option it out, develop it?
We're not under any pressure on Highland. The claims are good till 2028. We own it 100%. So it hasn't been a high priority. I've really wanted to get out and work on it, but dividing your efforts with people, we're better from a value for shareholders to stay very focused on delivering value on one project, which is AURMAC, and $5 per ounce. We can't beat that, especially since, we have good infrastructure at Highland with what we have out there. It's set up, but still, as soon as you start dividing your efforts, it becomes a more complicated story. I don't think in this market you'd get rewarded for it. So, we've entertained a few people who've, been kicking the tires, potentially optioning it. We're not under any pressure. We would sell it for the right offer if it really added value and helped us advance AURMAC. This market sentiment right now, I think it's transitory. I think, with the inflation we're seeing, gold price at $1,800 is pretty fabulous. I know, but we haven't seen the retail and generalists really start to look towards gold. I think it'll come by fall. Personally, I'm pretty heavily vested in gold and in Banyan. And I'm also patient. So there's no rush. There's no crisis at Highland. It has lots of value with the 500,000 ounces at 0.85. And, when you compare that to Victoria Gold's life of mine grade of 0.63, it's also road accessible project, 70 kilometers from the community. So have a little patience, and Highland's just another asset for us. There's lots of potential value we could get from it in future.
Okay. And staying on the M&A theme, we've seen the majors be pretty active in British Columbia. What have they been doing in Yukon? What's the action been there, if any?
Well, a few years ago, there was quite a bit of action with Kaminak being purchased, and then Goldcorp being purchased by Newmont. We've seen Agnico and Core and Kinross all make investments in various juniors. Have they, are they aware of Banyan? I think they're all aware of Banyan. I don't know what their intentions are, whether they're planning to really focus more on the Yukon. They have made some pretty significant investments in BC, and often they have to focus their effort and time on seeing those ones through. But I like to see us get to where we are a tier 1 asset, and I think we're going to get a lot more attention from a lot of people. And the district in Mayo, seeing Victoria Gold be successful, and they're having built that through a pandemic, seeing them cash flow shows proof of concept. You can build a heap leach, you can permit, build, and operate a heap leach mine here despite a pandemic. And their success, I think, is really starting to get some attention for this district. And then now it's just, what is the mineral endowment of this area of the Yukon? Well, I think it's pretty significant. There are other companies working around us that are also making new discoveries. We made the power line discovery brand new in 2019. So I think people are just starting to become aware of how big the gold endowment is in the Yukon, and there'll be lots of discoveries made, and that will bring the majors to the Yukon. So it's early days again. So we've seen a few cornerstone investments, but I think the best is yet to come.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Tara. I don't have any other questions. I don't see any audience questions. Is there anything you wanted to discuss today that we didn't cover?
No, I really appreciate chatting with you and giving you an update, and want to tell shareholders we've got lots more value to deliver, and I appreciate their support through all these years. And it was really lovely to see people at the conference here this last week in Vancouver and chat to them. And we look forward to more people coming out and to more conferences to hear the story. It's a great time, I think, to be investing in exploration and minerals in Canada.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, the last couple weeks have been terrible in the markets, but gold's actually started to do what it should in this type of environment, which I think is promising. Your stock's performed incredibly well versus its peer group, which I think is telling about the results that you've had and the news flow that you've had. But I am on your side. I think come the fall, equities will get drawn down into an equity downturn because they'll act as equities first. But I think the gold juniors will come out of this pretty strong, hopefully in the fall. So I'm with you. And you got to go for a quality, big size asset. Like the 4 million ounces really surprised me. So I think the market will continue to like that as you build. And like you said, you're in a great jurisdiction, close to infrastructure, close to an operating mine, close to a highway. Doesn't get much better than that.
Mm-hmm. And eventually the market will pay attention. We just plan to keep delivering on what we said we'd do. It's nice to come back and say, that's what I said I was going to do. We've delivered on that. We've added value. We've used shareholders' dollars well. And, we'll just keep our head down and keep working. And, our geological model's proving out. And that ultimately, I think, is going to lead to success. And our next goal is to get it to that tier 1 assets stage. And then we'll have more decisions to make.
For sure. Sounds good. But yeah, thank you, everyone, for participating. Thanks, Tara, for your time, and congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you again.
Have a good afternoon.